Nature's greatest artists aren't human at all. They're microscopic coral creatures that have been sculpting our ocean floors for millions of years, creating masterpieces that dwarf anything in our finest museums.
That's such an interesting perspective, especially when we compare it to human artists like Frederick Edwin Church, who tried to capture nature's grandeur in the icebergs at the Dallas Museum of Art.
You know what fascinates me most about Church's work? He was attempting to freeze a moment of something that's inherently dynamic, just like these coral creatures that are constantly building and reshaping their environment.
Well, speaking of reshaping environments, I've been reading about how these coral formations create these incredible white seabeds that transform entire coastlines. How long does something like that take?
We're talking about processes that span thousands of years, these tiny organisms working generation after generation, literally building the foundation of some of Earth's most stunning ecosystems. And what's really mind-blowing is how they create these perfect conditions for that brilliant blue water we see in tropical paradises.
The way you describe that makes me think about how these natural processes connect to the seasonal changes we see in coastal areas, especially with those fan palms and Ryukyu pines.
Oh, that's exactly what I wanted to discuss next. These coastal landscapes are like nature's color palette. You've got the permanent features like the pines providing this steady green backdrop. Then these incredible seasonal performers like the Kurama azaleas that burst into bloom each spring.
And then there's the Yamamomo fruit adding another layer of color to this natural canvas, right?
Precisely, and what's fascinating is how all these elements work on different timescales. You've got the coral formations taking centuries, the pines living for decades, and then these annual flowering cycles all playing out against that stunning blue ocean background that's created by the purity of the water itself.
While that really puts Church's artistic choices into perspective, he was trying to capture something that exists on multiple temporal scales all at once.
And you know what's really interesting about that? Church was working during a time when we were just beginning to understand geological timescales. His painting of the icebergs isn't just art, it's a document of how humans were starting to grasp the immensity of natural time.
So how do you think these different timescales influence the way we understand and appreciate these natural wonders?
Well, it's like we're watching different stories unfold simultaneously. Imagine reading a book where each chapter moves at a different speed. The coral story spans millennia, while the azalea's tale repeats annually, and the ocean's color story changes with each passing cloud.
That makes me think about how these natural processes have shaped human culture and our understanding of time itself.
Exactly right. Like, consider how coastal communities have developed their entire calendars around these natural rhythms. The blooming of the Kurama azaleas isn't just a pretty sight, it's a marker of time, a signal in nature's calendar that communities have relied on for generations.
You know, it's remarkable how these natural processes maintain such perfect timing without any human intervention.
And that's really the heart of what makes all of this so fascinating. Whether we're looking at Church's icebergs, coral reefs, or flowering coastal forests, we're witnessing this incredible choreography of natural processes that have been refined over millions of years.
That really puts our role as observers into perspective, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We're not just witnesses to these processes, we're part of them. And understanding these connections, these different timescales of nature's artistry, might be the key to preserving these incredible systems for future generations to witness and study.
Here's something mind-blowing. When you look at a piece of coal, you're actually holding millions of years of compressed ancient forests in your hand. The story of how we document and preserve plant life spans centuries, and it's changing how we understand our world is...
That's fascinating. How did scientists first start keeping records of all these plant specimens?
Well, let me tell you about this incredible collection at Cambridge University Herbarium. They have over 1 million dried plant specimens, including some dating back to 1729. Just imagine these botanical time capsules were being created when Bach was still composing music.
So these specimens have survived for nearly 300 years. What's the preservation process like?
You know what's really interesting about that? They use this meticulous method where plants are carefully dried and mounted on special paper sheets. Take this Lamiaceae specimen from John Martin in 1729. It's still in remarkable condition because of these preservation techniques.
That's exactly the kind of historical record we need right now with climate change, right?
Oh, absolutely. And here's why these collections are so crucial. When researchers compare that 1763 Geranium cucullatum specimen with modern samples, they can track specific changes in the species over centuries. It's like having a botanical time machine.
Well, that makes me wonder about all the ancient plants that didn't get preserved. Like those forests that turned into coal deposits?
Right. So picture this millions of years ago. Entire forests would collapse, with trees falling on top of each other. Over time, that organic matter got compressed under intense pressure and heat, eventually forming the coal we use today.
The way we document plants has really evolved since then, hasn't it?
Yes. And it's fascinating to see how art and science intersect in modern botanical documentation. Like Saverio Cesare's three-dimensional reliefs from 2015, they're not just scientifically accurate, they're absolutely beautiful.
So how are researchers using these collections to understand our changing environment?
Well, these specimens are like environmental witnesses. Take that Gladiolus illyricus collected by Bickham in 1902 by comparing it with modern samples. Scientists can track changes in flowering times, leaf structure, and geographic distribution. It's helping us understand how plants adapt to environmental changes.
And I imagine modern technology must be revolutionizing how we study these specimens.
Oh my goodness, yes. Digital imaging now lets researchers zoom in on tiny details that weren't visible before. They're even using AI to analyze patterns across thousands of specimens simultaneously. But you know what's really exciting? Scientists are still discovering new species by re-examining old specimens with modern knowledge.
That's incredible, like finding new chapters in an old book we thought we'd finished reading.
Exactly. And here's something wild: these collections are helping us predict future changes too. By studying how plants adapted to past environmental shifts, we can better understand how they might respond to climate change and other challenges ahead.
Looking ahead, what do you think these collections will tell future generations about our time?
You know, that's such a powerful question. These specimens we're collecting today will tell future scientists about what was lost, what was saved, and how our actions shaped the planet's biodiversity. It's like we're creating a botanical message in a bottle for future generations. Art has this incredible power to capture humanity at its highest and lowest points. And there's no better example than two pieces created in 1945, one showing the serenity of a sacred mountain, the other documenting the horrors of Bergen-Belsen concentration camp.
That's quite a contrast. What drew you to these particular works?
Well, I've been studying Zhang Daqian's The Golden Peak of Mount Emme, this massive piece, 81 by 161 centimeters of ink and color on paper. It's like stepping into a moment of pure transcendence, you know? And then there's this powerful work by Doris Claire Zinkeisen from the exact same year.
Oh, right, she was one of the few female war artists commissioned by the Red Cross, wasn't she?
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that she arrived at Bergen-Belsen right after its liberation on April 15th, 1945. She wasn't just creating art, she was bearing witness to one of history's darkest moments while documenting the humanitarian response.
That must have required incredible strength to maintain artistic focus in those conditions.
You know what's particularly striking? While Zinkeisen was documenting these horrific scenes, Zhang was creating this peaceful mountain landscape, like two completely different realities existing simultaneously. The piece even captures the famous golden summit effect when sunlight hits the clouds around Mount Emme.
And then along comes George Maciunas in 1963 with his Fluxus Manifesto, completely challenging how we think about both approaches to art.
Oh my gosh, yes. His manifesto was like this artistic earthquake. He wanted to purge the world of what he called artificial illusionistic art and specifically targeted Americanism. He was pushing for something he called living art and non-art reality.
Well, that's interesting. How do you think he would have viewed these 1945 works?
That's such a fascinating question because Zinkeisen's documentary style might have aligned with his vision of non-art reality, while Zhang's more traditional approach was exactly what he was pushing against, though both were engaging with reality in their own ways.
So it's almost like these three perspectives form a spectrum of artistic purpose.
Exactly, and what's really interesting is how Zhang's piece, at 81 by 161 centimeters, creates this immersive experience that almost transcends Maciunas' categories. Like, is it illusionistic art if it's capturing a real spiritual experience?
That's quite profound, and it really highlights how art serves different purposes in society, doesn't it?
Well, that's what makes this all so relevant today. We still need art that offers spiritual solace, like Zhang's mountain landscape. Art that bears witness to history, like Zinkeisen's documentation. And art that pushes boundaries, like Maciunas called for.
And looking toward the future, how do you think these different approaches continue to influence contemporary artists?
You know, I think we're seeing this amazing synthesis where artists are combining all these approaches, creating work that's both beautiful and challenging, documentary and transcendent. It's like they're taking the best lessons from each of these historical moments.
That's such a powerful reminder of why art matters. It's not just about creating beautiful objects or documenting events.
Exactly. It's about helping us process and understand our world, whether through beauty, witness, or revolution. And maybe that's the most important legacy of these three different artistic moments from 1945 and 1963. They show us how art can help us navigate what it means to be human, even in the most challenging times.